Hi, my name is Julie, and welcome to the Expansive Journey. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that I think is important to talk about and shed some light on. And that is something I like to call the second matrix. And the second matrix is sort of like the spiritual matrix of spiritual ideas, methods, understandings, concepts, and paradigms. And most of us, we go from seeking validation, seeking money, relationships, and success when we are so-called unawakened, and we change it into seeking liberation, comfort, peace, self-love, guidance, and a better life in the spiritual matrix. And the spiritual matrix is for people who have woken up from the first matrix, but still sort of overlook that they entered a second one. And this matrix, in my opinion, is beautiful and it's very empowering. But everything that becomes conceptual is a thought and not the actual living reality of what is. And we can enjoy this matrix and we can stay here and it can feel comfortable in many ways. But it becomes a hindrance if we want to seek progress, if we want to progress and realize further what we are and the journey we have started on. And when we experience an increase in consciousness, the ego doesn't really follow along, and it can experience a lot of fear and confusion and even like a strong sense of grief towards this new and unknown reality. And as a coping mechanism, our mind really tries to understand and make sense of our awakening, and it's almost desperate in the attempt to understand what's going on. And we seek gurus and we seek books and teachings, and nothing of this is inherently wrong, and it can be very helpful as well, in my opinion, but it's very easy to overlook that we get identified with the awakening process itself. And we tend to take on a new identity, a spiritual identity, as a person who woke up and is here to heal the world or something like that. And this is nothing wrong inherently, and you can say it is a positive ego in many ways. The problem is that we overlook that this is what has happened and we get stuck here, even though it is actually just a mere start of the awakening journey, the journey to enlightenment or liberation. And some of us can be obsessed about healing and self-improvement. Others want to find the truth and go down into deep dungeons of conspiracy theories, looking for answers to all the pain they feel inside when they wake up. And others realize a sense of freedom and they go out to manifest and create their own reality. This is beautiful and perfect, and consciousness is expressing itself through a higher aware being, which is you. In my case, for good or bad, depending on the eyes looking, I had a very strong resistance to looking at myself as a spiritual person. And waking up felt for me like the biggest catastrophe ever, since I couldn't find any comfort in that identity. And before that, I had learned to like who I had become as a separate personality in the world. I actually liked my ego, and I had learned to enjoy the matrix I was a part of. And waking up meant that none of this was even real. And there was this strong battle. It has been ever since a strong battle between the old me and the new me, where the old me was identified with career, my interests, my qualities, personality, ambitions, and social roles. And the new me was the one that was waking up from all and being a soul on a spiritual seeking path, whatever that meant. And it took me a few years to recognize that both of these identities of like ideas of who I was were nothing but thoughts I had identified with. They were nothing appearing as something, and the battle itself was illusory. So the question is, where do you look when all you have ever known feels out of resonance, uncomfortable, and even unreal? What used to feel normal for you is now filled with a sense of pain and even alienation, especially in terms of relationships and friendships. So we end up trying to find comfort in spirituality, whether that ideas about the fifth dimension, astral travels, extraterrestrial contact, angel or tarot cards, and constant attempts to heal and fix ourselves or manifest something better. The thing is that when you think you are going somewhere or you need to be healed, it's actually how your ego is staying in charge by keeping you focused and busy on fixing something that you are ultimately not. You're trying to fix an illusion. And thinking that the future will bring us peace, joy, and the love we want, that's the whole trap and the whole game of the ego mechanism. And this points to another trap of the ego, is to make us see the ego as a form or its own being. The ego is rather an underlying mechanism that is governing us and keeping us from feeling separate from all, keeping us away from the natural non-dual reality, which is the real reality. So the second matrix promises its own version of perfection in terms of self-love, healing, manifestations, supernatural phenomena, and etc. And it can turn into an escape from what is. It is actually the opposite of awakening or the opposite of freedom. It's easy to overlook that you are in this, and the way you discover is to ask yourself the question, is this that I'm focusing on a concept or idea, or a part of my direct experience here and now? If it's not, then it's a thought. Everything you try to achieve is a thought. Another test is, can you describe it? If you can, then it's a thought. So do you focus on the direct, undoubtable experience right now, like the sense of wind on your skin and the sounds in the room around you? If you're not, then you're focusing on a thought. So what if the idea of trying to be better or to make better is what keeps you seeking and never satisfied? The desire hides under the denial of what is, and ultimately what makes suffering grow. So the question is, can you be okay with the imperfection? And through the mind, we can't, since the mind is always looking for problems to solve, something to get somewhere, and promises a future which is ultimately just imagination. Imagination is what takes you out of what really is here and now and is directly linked to past and future. The stories of the mind can be so seductive that we forget that we spend most of our time here in our mind, in a story. Even on the spiritual path, the peace and the joy and the love that you seek can only be found exactly right now when you take away the clutter you have covered the present moment up with. You can keep looking or find everything right here where you are right now. If you're ready to take the next step of anchoring your conscious awareness into the present moment, I want to invite you to book a free clarity call with me, and maybe I can assist you further. You can find the link in my bio if you are on Instagram, and you can find the link in the description below if you are on YouTube. And until next time, namaste.